Well, this man should be happy. Scored a touchdown in every quarter of a game and went out and won in Broken Arrow. Owasso head football coach Bill Blankenship. And that's the first thing. You get a score in every quarter. Hey, you got 28. At least you know that since you got touchdowns.
Yeah.
That was enough to win. That's a pretty even performance. Tell me after you've seen film what you thought.
Well, physically, we got after them. That's always a pleasure to the coach. Whenever you can win at the point of attack and in the trenches. I felt like on both sides of the ball, we played physically, um, aggressively. We're able to at least take charge of it with our offensive line in the second half,
Mhm.
and that's always a way that you've been around this enough. The big boys they like it when it's hard and grimy,
Yep.
and it was rough and grimy and tough, but it was a really special win for us. That's a good
Yeah,
football team, we think.
I think back to that win in the Liberty Bowl against Iowa
Yeah,
State, coming off the goal line and
yeah.
driving like that, and that offensive line grinding, and you could feel that. But they've got somebody to block for too. Mr. Hall's having himself a year, isn't he?
Yeah, Jaden is really special. He's been part of what used to be a three-headed monster here, and rotated all those guys in, and then with one of them transferring, and then we've been playing Chris Ferris. Most every rep on defense, he's playing linebacker, and so we're not just regularly rotating Chris in. He can still spell us some, but uh, Jay Hall was pretty special, but he loves running behind the big boys, and I think it's a pretty good symbiotic relationship. They kind of care for each other, and they feed off of him, and he feeds off them.
I can understand. For people who haven't seen him, how would you describe him as a runner?
Rick, I think he checks all the boxes. I mean, he's a guy that over the course of 9 years in college, we probably would have recruited him, 8 or 9 times. Uh, but in today's world, with the you got to play now mentality, the portal has changed it. He's not done quite as much in the recruiting world as the way it would have. And I'm saying all that to say he's got size. He's got speed. He runs on the 4x1 that finished, that placed in the state. He catches the ball and he pass protects. And oh, by the way, he's a good young man that makes his grades. I think he's that veteran running back that's been playing for 3 years and he understands the game and he's not lost in it. And because of that, he can be patient and then be able to have that burst, and he's got it all.
And if you find guys like that, as you mentioned, the portal changed things. There were, I think, that first year there were some couple of thousand scholarships fewer got offered, but
Yeah.
we're also seeing that start to, as we knew it would, work itself out just a little bit. And you're finding programs like what's happening here with Trey and Tulsa, Trey Lamb, that realize they have to have some of those
Yeah.
guys. You have
Yeah.
to have someone who wants to be with you at least for somewhat of a long term. And the good news is, even if you go FCS initially, we're still talking about education, money,
Oh, sure.
scholarships, and you never know where you're going to go. So these kids still have opportunities, right?
Yep. Yeah, and Jaden's getting some of that. He certainly got several D2 offers, and he's actually been reached out to this week from some Division I and FCS schools. So I'm not worried about that piece of it. It's just a different dynamic, Rick, than it was just 10 years ago, and maybe more than 5 years ago.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. And then your quarterback again, Drew had another really good game. Someone asked me the other day, would you call him a game manager? Well, first of all, I think that term gets used poorly. That's two words for winner, in my opinion. I mean,
Right.
guys who did what
Right.
Trent Dilfer won a
Yeah.
Super Bowl that way, for God's sake. I mean, look around. I think he's more than that personally, and I think he's developed beyond that. When I watched some of the film of that game at Broken Arrow, I thought he did a nice job decision making.
Yes. And I think that's what I'm really most proud of is I think Drew's becoming an even better quarterback. He was a young man last year playing with a great unit around him. And at some level, I would agree that he managed the situation really well
Mhm.
a year ago because he had a great offensive line, he had good skill people, and he would make the plays. This year, he's having to do a lot more
Yep.
than what you maybe even see. We had a very young offensive line to start the year, four new starters, and so we're trying to manage protections. We're trying to manage the box. Are they loading the box or trying to drop everybody out? And so he really has run a lot more RPO game than any quarterback I've had in the last 5 years. And he's actually handling it, especially at Broken Arrow. I thought he handled it perfectly.
Well, he's a guy who continues to grow. I mean, he's young still, right? I
Yes,
mean, it's
yes.
hard to say that, but he is. He's young still. He's got another great upside. There's no doubt. Let's go to defense. You mentioned flipping over one of your running backs playing over there. They obviously played well too, only giving up 2 scores to a team that, I mean, let's be honest. They had Satemba playing a lot of offense. I mean, pardon me, Satemba plays quarterback, but they had the defensive back playing
Uh,
offense.
Stanford, Samaj.
Samaj, yeah,
Yep,
playing offense. He had a nice long catch,
yep.
still holding them to 14. I would think in their home place, that's pretty doggone special. What they do well.
Well, and again, I think it's lost on a lot of people because of Broken Arrow's record the last couple of years. But they had nearly all the offensive players back. They were like 8 or 9 starters back. The running back Octavian Roberson is special. They've got receivers. They've got the quarterback back, and then that offensive line. When you see them, Rick, in person, they are the biggest, most physical group that we've seen all year, and I think will be the most that we see. So our defense to be able to manage, holding them to 14 was huge. One big play was Samaj catching the deep ball. And then the thing that hurt us, and then it kind of plays into our conversation about Union we'll get to, was the Satemba, the quarterback, was able to scramble a couple of times and create some big plays. And
Yeah.
so the biggest gainers, apart from the one long throw, was the quarterback, being able to extend plays and break out of the pocket and get big runs. So we've got to correct that. But other than that, man, we flew to the ball. We're tackling pretty well. But I love the energy we're playing with on defense. I think Steve Neal's done a great job of just kind of capturing, what it means to pursue and to gang tackle.
And there's no better time to get hot than district play, which is
Absolutely, yes,
which, as
sir.
you say, we'll get a little bit more into in a minute. I want to remind you this is brought to you by Tulsa Accident Care Center. Our friend Jared, who I see in the box at TU all the time, you can always tell Jared because if he speaks 10 miles from now here, his voice will resonate over to where you are.
Right.
Here's the thing about Tulsa Accident Care Center: if you have an auto accident, which nobody wants, I get that. But if you do, the last thing you need is more hassles. You've got enough on your plate at that point. So how about you go to one place to get everything done? I'm talking about seeing a doctor, going to PT, getting your medicines, getting your imaging all in one place. And you don't have to pay anything to walk in the door. And all you have to do is walk in. No appointment has to happen. So if you decide yourself, hey, look, I need this fixed, I need all of it fixed in one place, that's where you go. They're in 3 locations, Tulsa, Broken Arrow, and Owasso. You can find them at 888-8080. Of course, the area code is 918. Don't hassle. There's no reason. You don't have the time. You have other things to do. Go one place after a car wreck, and that is Tulsa Accident Care Center. All right, now moving on to Union. So not that you've been familiar with them, but Josh and Broken Arrow, now back to Union. And you and I had a small text conversation the other day. You looked out there on film and you've seen them had the first win in district as they beat Santa Fe. And this is not maybe the Union teams of 5 or 6 years ago, but you still see a lot of talent.
I absolutely do, Rick. And I think that, I think they're still trying to find their identity a little bit. And that's what happens anytime you have a new team and especially with new coaching staff. Um, Antonio is getting his system established. It's not new football. I think people get to thinking, Coach Fred wasn't playing bad football and Antonio's going to play good football. That's not what we're talking about. But there are cultures and there are philosophies, and Coach Graham knows what he's doing, and he's got those guys starting to learn how to do it his way. And I just hope they'll take another week before they figure it out completely. There's a lot of talent on the field still, and I think that we've identified certainly players that can score the ball. Stowe Turner is a difference maker.
Yep.
I thought Mormon played a whole lot better last week and seemed to be the guy that much like we were talking about with Jeremiah at Broken Arrow. Mormon's tough with that ball in his hand. He's a very good runner and being able to extend plays and use him in quarterback runs. So I think offensive or Union's offense is starting to figure itself out. They certainly showed glimpses against Jinx of being able to put points on the board and to get the ball moving. And I know Coach Simmons, Coach Ratliff very well, and they're gonna have a great game plan and get after it.
Now, when you talk about Mormon, he's talking about Skylar Mormon, who's the quarterback who came in from Collegeville. He's kind of in a battle early. He has taken over lately and is really running this football team. The question with him was whether he could throw deep, and he's done some of that. But let's go back to Stone Turner, because Stone is a guy that when he walks out doesn't overwhelm you. But as soon as he starts running routes and gets open, he does. He's pretty special. When you watch him, what do you think it is he does best?
He's a football player. I mean, he is just a baller. I mean, whatever he does, he's a guy that makes plays. He kind of got that it factor, whether it's blocking, whether it's catching, whether it's running the football or playing defense. If you lined him up and we started choosing sides to go out and play a pickup game, he'd be a guy you'd want to pick early because that guy's just a ball player.
And then when you see their running back room, they've got a couple of guys. Of course, you really think of Taj first, but we've got a couple of guys who can run, and they look kind of interchangeable. McGee doesn't look really that different when you look at Tay. They're pretty much the same guy, but both of them run tougher than their size, don't they?
They do. They really do, and I think they're very active. The one thing that Union has not given up on is speed. I mean, they've got speed, and if you let them get loose, you're going to have a hard time running them down. These are guys that have, all the track background and all that stuff, and they really do. They just kind of roll those guys in, and you just see the same look over and over again, they seem to be fresh.
And they do a good job of trying to keep that going anyway. Their offensive line's been a work in progress, but it's coming along a little bit. Defensively, Kane Brackney came in this year as a new guy, and he started learning Antonio's system. Now, the last couple of weeks, especially last week, saw him really start to excel. Tyler Cook Tucker Cook at linebacker, really good players. Is that where they're best on defense, or do you think that defensive backfield, or what are you looking at?
I think there's a couple of really good defensive backs. I don't have all their names down, but I'm just telling you, corner and safety that are as good as anybody else we've played. Physically, there's a D lineman, a linebacker, all of those guys can be difference makers. I think they have. If you look from game one to game four, there's been a big change in understanding what they were doing defensively and how to fit and how to disrupt and all that. And so you see a much better execution last week, and you would expect that, but I fully expect that they'll continue down that path.
When you mentioned new styles, Antonio came in and changed a lot of things as coaches do. I don't think people understand either. It's not just a personality. There is a style. Sometimes there's a vernacular change, all that kind of thing. In your history, when that happens, when you come into some place and you've taken it, how long do you really feel it takes for you to get your point across and to get them playing kind of your football, if you will?
Rick, we just had a big flash over here. So do you still have me on camera?
No, I don't have you on camera. I've got your audio.
Okay. All right. Well, we can keep talking if you want. That's fine. But I had a power surge or something, and everything just went black for about 5 seconds. But that's what I hope doesn't happen on Friday night is that all of a sudden we're playing and we lose it all. Get back to your question again, please.
It's just about taking over a new program. When that happens, you move in somewhere. How long does it generally take before you kind of feel comfortable with your system, them with you, and you kind of feel like you got it moving?
Well, and I'm probably over exaggerating a little bit, but I felt like personally that it was, a full 365. if you get around to the next year, you kind of know what to expect. Now, I don't think it's exactly the same. He's been a head coach and now he's into just a new place. But I don't care if it's Union or Timbuktu, every place has a way of doing things. And so you're trying to adapt what you're understanding and the way you want to do it and the way you expect to do it to what they're used to as well. And so I don't think they'll come completely comfortable until they've gone a full cycle of season and off season. But I think you'll see weekly progress over and over and over again because that's just how we work in football is we're going to get familiar and we're going to get repetition, and the more reps you get, the better you get.
Well, let's keep the lights on out in Owasso at 7:30 on
Absolutely,
Friday.
brother.
All right. Well, look, we'll let you get your problem fixed, and I'll be in Memphis with Tulsa, but I'll certainly be watching. Good luck out there. We'll visit again next week.
Well, we've had a few good trips to Memphis. I hope you have a good one, man.
Thank you.